Coming in at number 10 we have the Tic Tac. Not the breath freshener candy, I'm talking about the shape of an alien mothership here, you know? The Tic Tac shape has been reported for decades by UFO witnesses and pilots all over the world, and this video was one of the 3 that the Pentagon eventually have declassified in the past few couple years. The Tic Tac incident begins around November 10th, 2004. When radar operators reported seeing odd and slow-moving objects flying in groups of 5 to 10 off the coast of San Diego. Commander David Fravor and the Black Aces Squadron were asked by the USS Nimitz if they could aid in identifying what exactly was over their radar for the past couple weeks. The 2 F-18s chased this during an exercise. Yeah, imagine chasing a UFO. Like Top Gun 3, Reptilians. One of the pilots, Chad Underwood, got video and his displays caught some pretty crazy stuff. All the pilots who were involved said the object looked like a large white Tic Tac candy, unlike any other known aircraft. These objects have been sighted overcoming the Earth's gravity with no visible means of propulsion. They also lack any flight surfaces such as wings or lights. So what exactly is this flying candy? I don't know. And number 9, the Go Fast. This next video was the second out of the 3 videos that the Pentagon finally declassified. I say finally after they got leaked, and then the Pentagon of course was like, oh yeah, those 3 videos, yeah, of course they're authentic. Like, yeah, thanks for the heads up. The video shows a rounded object absolutely hauling ass across the water. The USS Theodore sent out some jets to see what the buzz was. The latest tech from the US can't even really get a read at first, but after some recalibrating, the fighter jet systems picks up and locks onto its target. The relief and confusion from the pilots makes this video great. They can't even believe what they're witnessing. After playing with different mods, the backseater is able to show the steady moving object in different lenses, infrared, thermal. It's the real deal. I would have just pretended to pass out as soon as we were close, you know what I mean? Just whoop, whoop. Number 8. Gimbal. When Lou Elizondo ran the Defense Department initiative called the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, or ATIP, he compiled a list of logic-defying capabilities most commonly associated with UAP sightings. The new term for UFOs. Yeah. He calls those traits the 5 observables: anti-gravity, sudden acceleration, hypersonic velocity, cloaking and low visibility, and transmedium travel. The 3rd video leaked and finally declassified from the Pentagon is the Gimbal video. We're taken aboard the same carrier ship, USS Theodore Roosevelt, taken also in 2015. The video shows a flying object and was shot off the screen of an operator aboard the USS Roosevelt. It moves, turns, rotates. Yeah, how much movement it isn't making is actually the scary part. So stationary. No means of propulsion, no exhaust. This thing's weird, dude. The official Navy video was taken in 2015 and filmed aboard a Navy fighter jet from the nuclear aircraft carrier, the USS Theodore Roosevelt, off the eastern coast near Florida. And this thing looks like a floating spinning top, just sitting there. I'm just gonna say it, that's what I think it looks like. You know what I mean? Number 7, Area 51. This secret base in the Nevada desert acts as the US's military hub for spatial engineering, maybe even some reverse engineering. The area is named after the geological grid of the desert. Groom Lake, Dreamland, this place has tons of nicknames. The area gained notoriety in the early 90s when numerous claims that workers had worked on alien aircraft and even heard of harboring alien creatures underground. The entire premises is fenced off with signs saying no photography allowed. Use of deadly force is authorized. That can't be good. Whatever they're hiding here, it's mostly military. The base has been a testing facility for the Air Force and remains one of the most highly secured and secretive bases in America. Remember the 2019 Storm Area 51 movement? Yeah, no one got him. Even the famous Bob Lazar has claimed he was an employee here. What do you think? Number 6. Travis Walden. The horrifying abduction of local Arizona forester Travis Walden. Some of us know the name from the movie Fire in the Sky, based on this exact case and filmed in 1993. On November 5th, 1975, Walden and a number of others from the logging crew were working with timber in the Apache Sid Greaves National Forest. While riding in the truck with 6 of his coworkers, they allegedly encountered a saucer-shaped object hovering about 100 feet away, making a high-pitched buzz. Walden exited the truck and ran over curious. A beam of light then appeared from the craft and blasted him unconscious. The other 6 men were terrified and drove away before returning moments later in a panic to a now vanished Travis. Walden claims that he woke up in a hospital room observed by 3 short bald creatures. He fought with them until a more human-looking figure led him down another room where he then blacked out. Walden claimed that he remembers nothing else until he found himself awake, walking alone a highway 5 days later naked, clueless of what had just happened. It's terrifying. Number 5. Rendlesham Forest. The Roswell of the UK. Boxing Day. 1980. The forest lays between the military bases of Bentwaters and Woodbridge. 3 a.m., 2 military personnel, John Burroughs and Jim Peniston, respond to bright lights in the forest. The radios stopped working. There was a static feeling in the air and an odd absolute silence. The closer the men got, the more they realized it wasn't ours. Peniston was drawn in and touched the craft, instantly electrocuting him and apparently downloading him with odd symbols and star system maps before the craft then blasted off. 24 hours after, the craft returned and Deputy Commander Charles Halt is now witness in the exact same spot. The trees, petrified. The ground, radioactive. And there are 3 large landing holes in the grass. Years later, Burroughs and Peniston still continuously ask the British government for their medical records from that night that they never received. Almost 32 years later and still nothing. Creepy. Number 4. Zimbabwe Children. In 1996, a mass sighting was witnessed by an entire school in broad daylight in Rua, Zimbabwe, Africa. More than 150 students and staff were present. There have been tons of documentaries surrounding this case. Face to face, arm's length with the craft and beings, the children, who are now mostly in their 30s and 40s, are still convinced. More than 100 students can still remember what they claim to be telepathic warnings from the creatures surrounding our use of technology and the hazards it has on our planet. Drawings, first-hand interviews, and the weirdest part, all the same story. Same description of the craft, same description of the beings. Director and writer James Fox documents this infamous interaction in his 2020 documentary called The Phenomenon. If you haven't seen this, check it out. I'm telling you, it's worth it. Number 3. Chile. Experts still can't explain this next video captured from a Navy helicopter. After 2 years of study, Chilean authorities have declassified and released a 9-minute video of a UFO. On the afternoon of November 14, 2014, a Chilean Navy pilot and a technician were flying a helicopter along the coast when they saw something fishy. They were going north in a twin-engine Airbus Cougar when something appeared in the sky and matched their velocity of 130 knots. The helicopter's technician was testing the thermal imaging properties of the infrared FLIR high-definition camera. After minutes, the pilot and technician observed the object make 2 distinct discharges of some type, liquid or gas, which produced a red-hot signature captured by the infrared imager. The Navy turned the video over to the Committee for the Study of Anomalous Aerial Phenomenon known as CEPHA. This is the Chilean government group that investigates UFO sightings. I guess the 6th observable is if you see a UFO fart, because yeah, that's clearly a fart, you know? Number 2, Spain. This next one, yeah, I don't know if it's real or not. I thought the Scorpion King with the rock was real. Yeah, the latest CGI, you know? So who knows? But I can't stop watching it. The video allegedly shows a UFO filmed by a fisherman near Galicia, Spain. The craft hovers over the ocean before splashing into the waters as military jets fly overhead. We see 2 fighter jets whiz by this fishing ship, apparently following this craft. There isn't any official info surrounding this video, I just felt like it's pretty modern and shows some F-18s and the speeds that they fly at, you know? The fishermen film a 42-second video showing what I guess would be the Spanish military chasing a UFO accompanied by an unmarked blacked out chopper before slamming down into the water. If we use Elizondo's 5 observables and apply them to this video, we see low visibility, hypersonic speeds, and transmedium travel. The more I watch, it's gotta be fake, but after listening to all the fighter pilots talk about chasing these things literally into the water, it's got me thinking. I don't know. What do you think? And number 1, the Aguadilla Airport. This is probably my favorite UFO video. The longest, clearest, and most puzzling. The incident took place in 2013 in Aguadilla, Puerto Rico. Scientists who've analyzed thermal images of a flying object recorded in Puerto Rico are still trying to figure out what could have done this. A team of analysts working with the SCU, which is the Scientific Coalition for UAP Studies, a private group of scientists, military analysts, and investigators, produced a report analyzing this incident. It's a comprehensive stew of thermal, visual, and sensor data related to an unusual series of events in and around the Aguadilla Puerto Rican airport. Yeah, they were experiencing a couple weeks of these things. This thing's just trucking steadily, splits into 2, turns directions. Safe to say this video does a great job of showing Lou's 5 observables. What do you think? Are these crafts being piloted, by the way, or are they being remote controlled? Either or, that's absolutely terrifying. Number 10. Al Warden. American test pilot, engineer, and NASA astronaut Alfred Merrell Warden, the pilot for the Apollo 15 lunar missions in 1971. One of the 24 people that have gone to the moon. Woohoo! He orbited it 74 times. Well, he was the first to even drive a moon car. Warden remained at NASA until 1975, and then it gets a little weird. Recently, on a morning show, they asked Warden, "Why do we keep going back to the moon?" He paused and said, quote, "Survival. Survival of our species." When pressed on aliens, he said, "You know, we are the aliens, right? We just think there's somebody else. We're the ones who came from somewhere else because somebody else had to survive. They got in a little spacecraft and they came here and they landed and they started civilization here. And if you don't believe me, go get books on the ancient Sumerians and see what they have to say about it." End quote. Yeah, that's not terrifying at all, Al. Number 9. Edgar Mitchell. Edgar Dean Mitchell was a U.S. Navy officer, aviator, test pilot, engineer, NASA astronaut, and of course, ufologist. Ufology is the pseudo term for somebody who studies UFOs. I don't think there's like a degree you can just get that in. If so, where? I'm signing up. Just needed a name for it, I guess? I don't know. The lunar module pilot of Apollo 14 in 1971, guy clocked 9 hours working on the moon. He was the 6th person to walk on the moon as well. Mitchell publicly expressed his opinions that he was sure that there were thousands of UFOs recorded since the early 1940s, apparently belonging to other planets. Thousands of them. NBC conducted an interview in 1996. He talked about meeting with officials from 3 different countries who said that they had met ETs in person. Quote, "The evidence for alien contact is very strong and classified by governments who are covering up visitations and the existence of alien bodies, specifically in places like Roswell, New Mexico." Sorry, do you mind if I just see his credentials one more time? Thank you so much. Number 8. James McDivitt. James Alton McDivitt is an American test pilot, Air Force pilot, engineer, and NASA astronaut who flew both in the Gemini and Apollo programs. McDivitt was selected by NASA for the Gemini 4 mission, and in 1965, he saw, filmed, and photographed an object, which approached the Gemini 4 as they were orbiting Earth over Hawaii. Apparently, the UFO had a long arm sticking out of it. Quote, "I was flying with Ed. He was sleeping, we were drifting, when suddenly an object appeared in the window. A cylindrical object, white." The film was then sent back to NASA and reviewed by NASA film technicians in 1975. It looked like a white beer can with a pencil sticking out of it. Yeah, he tried for years to get the word out about the phenomenon, but NASA lost those pictures apparently. Oh, that James, he's a crazy one up there in space with all those degrees he has. What a wacko. Number 7. Swarm splash. We now have 2 videos taken from military personnel from apparently the same incident. Isn't that interesting? Makes it realer and realer, doesn't it? The radar footage released by Jeremy Corbell shows multiple objects popping up and around the Navy's USS Omaha from an incident in July 2019. The ship was about 125 miles off the coast of San Diego when the footage was recorded. Radar shows the USS Omaha absolutely being swarmed by 14 UFOs. In the same incident, that a spherical aircraft was filmed disappearing into the Pacific Ocean. Okay, this is getting scary now. Same ship, 2 vids, same time. The radar shows the blips hovering around the ship, not really doing anything. Also, imagine 14 unidentified aircrafts above a US warship. It would be game over, like boom 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 dude out of the sky. But instead, we're just left with the videos, scratching our heads, in awe. Then the thing splashes into the water, showing transmedium travel. You can hear the operator say mark bearing and range, so they were clocking these things. This has unlocked a new fear of mine. Yeah, water. Jaws has nothing on me now. Number 6. Pyramids. The video and photos of this next encounter were originally shared at the Office of Naval Intelligence briefing on May 1st, 2020, and later leaked to Jeremy Corbell, filmmaker and ufologist. For those of you who don't know Jeremy, he's like our guy. He's pushing the boundaries, he's putting pressure on officials, he's a filmmaker and an avid UFOer like me. And he's got his hands in some pretty deep pockets. I'm just as puzzled with this video as you are. Green pyramids? Pulsing? The leaked video of flashing triangle-shaped objects that flew over a US warship is the real deal, the Pentagon said, after UFO investigators released the video and other puzzling photos online. Shot through night vision from the ship itself, the Pentagon confirmed in a statement that the leaked photos and videos were captured by official US Navy, though it's declined to label them as UAPs. Quote, "I can confirm that the referenced photos and videos were taken by Navy personnel," Pentagon spokesperson Susan Gao said in a statement. Okay, so they're real, but what are they? Is this what the Egyptians based theirs off of? I don't know, what do you think? Number 5. Congress. May 17th of this year was the first United States official Congress hearing in the last 50 years. Monumental. From Blue Book to UAPs. They tried to make this hearing look as dated and as boring as they could, but there were 2 videos shown at the hearing. One, a USO, unidentified submerged object, shown only to officials at a closed room conference after the hearing. and this one, the 2.3 seconds of something shiny just whizzing by a ship. Apparently they said it was a deflated balloon. I'm surprised it's not swamp gas way up there. See, this is the government we know and love. Leaking and sharing. One terrible video out of 140 cases between 2004 and 2021, and this is it? This is barely anything. Lawmakers were shown declassified images and footage of UFOs. I'd love to see their faces before and after the briefing. You know, they just walk in, walk out. Number 4. Mexico. On March 5th, 2004, a Mexican Air Force flight crew filmed 11 unidentified flying objects in the skies over southern state of Campeche. But the public was not notified of the sightings until Mexico's Defense Department issued a statement on May 12th, days later. Of course. I get it, you gotta come up with an excuse, we get it. A press release was accompanied by a videotape that showed some bright objects resembling orbs of light moving quickly on an evening cloudy sky. The lights were actually extreme heat sources filmed by the crew using infrared technology during a surveillance mission in search of drug smuggling planes. They were reportedly flying at an altitude of about 11,000 feet. The Mexican Air Force has released footage of what a UFO expert said were 2, then 11 objects picked up as they whizzed around the clouds, sometimes disappearing totally. I just saw Jordan Peele's Nope, and the clouds thing is really messing with me. Yeah, spoiler alert. Sorry. Number 3. Gordon Cooper. Leroy Gordon Cooper Jr. was an American engineer, test pilot, US Air Force pilot, and the youngest of the 7 original astronauts in Project Mercury. You know the pictures, it's the old school tinfoil suits. 1963, Cooper piloted the longest and last Mercury spaceflight, Mercury Atlas 9. 34 hours in space. The first American to spend an entire day in space, the first to sleep in space, and in Cooper's autobiography, Leap of Faith, he recounted his relationship with the Air Force and NASA and their relationship to the UFO conspiracy. Cooper claimed to see his first UFO while flying over Germany. He said that there were hundreds of reports made by pilots, many coming from military on radar. In 1978, he even testified before the United Nations on the topic. Radar operators, fighter pilots, fellow astronauts. He was a strong advocate for disclosure up until his passing. Number 2. Lost in space. During the 60s, the space race was on between the Americans and the Russians. Like a good old hockey game, huh? Those two, always at it. The first to figure out what it is to put something or someone up in a little metal box. It was actually the Soviets that secured many of the early victories. While NASA's efforts were widely publicized, of course, sometimes the Soviets made it a point to never announce a mission until days after it was completed, and of course, successful. This allowed them to maintain control over information. Enter stage right, the Giudica Cordiglia brothers from Italy. Former amateur radio operators who apparently caught Russian audio recordings which allegedly proves the Soviets covered up cosmonauts' failed missions in the early 1960s. Apparently she's saying, "Help, help, I feel hot, am I going to crash?" Yo, that is absolutely horrifying. If this is the real deal and the Soviets sent a woman into space that maybe didn't come back, this proves that whatever happens in space, stays in space. We're only told what we're supposed to hear. Number 1. Buzz Aldrin. American astronaut, engineer, fighter pilot with a Doctor of Science in Astronautics. This guy is overqualified. 3 spacewalks in 1966, Gemini 12 mission. As the lunar module Eagle pilot on the 1969 Apollo 11 mission, he and mission commander Neil Armstrong were the first 2 to land on the moon. There was something out there, close enough to be observed, and what it could be, according to Aldrin on Apollo 11 to the moon, he observed a light out of the window that appeared to be moving alongside them. But what could it have been other than another spacecraft from another country, or maybe even another world? It was either the rocket that had separated from us, or the 4 panels that moved away when we extracted the lander. After he returned home from his missions, he was convinced that he saw aliens while he was out there. Credentials aside, Guy took a lie detector test, which he passed with flying colors. In an interview with C-SPAN, Buzz talked about the future potential of the Earth's moon for humanity. He added a little extra info that might have ignited the spark to go back, regarding a certain monolith on the moon. Quote, "Visit the moon Phobos of Mars. There's a monolith there, a very unusual structure on this little potato object that goes around the moon once every 7 hours. When people find out about that, they're gonna say, 'Who put that there?' Yeah, I'll be the first one, Buzz. Who did put that there?" Number 10. Metal Maltesers. So this metallic floating bowling ball was just recorded in Perm, Russia. Yeah, giant metallic balls like this have been found literally littered all around the planet for decades, apparently. Most famously, ufologist Gary Nolan is currently now studying these metal Malteser looking things that people have collected over the years. Right now in Texas, there's a dude, nameless, who has a ton of these apparently. Jim Marlin, famous music producer, I guess named, was given these metal giant pinball spheres by a celebrity's bodyguard apparently, who said that they were dropped off from a craft in his backyard years ago. And like, a lot of these celebs have actually touched these things. Dennis Hopper, Jane Fonda, these things are famous like on their own. They also move on their own and apparently hold power and light up once in a while on their own. Like, that's not scary at all. Hey dad, yeah, your giant metal balls are floating again. And can you tape Survivor? It's the finale tonight.
Number 9. Tom DeLong Instagram post. Yeah, Blink-182. I can confidently say that the three of us in this room right now are Blink-182 fans, right? Obviously. I remember enjoying their songs, Aliens Exist. That one slapped right off the hop. But cut to 2022, former Blink member Tom DeLong, he's now the co-founder of To the Stars Academy of Arts and Science. Yeah, he's into aliens in real life now, not just in music. And 25 days ago, Tom DeLong posted what appears to be a photo of a real-life alien. Says Tom DeLong. So you could be the judge of that. Here we go. What do you think? I vote real. I don't know. I'm like 80-20. What do we think?
That's real for sure.
That's real.
Number 7. Dark Side of the Moon. Not just an absolute banger of an album, also one of the most terrifying, mysterious places in our galaxy. The dark side of our moon. Since the 1950s, NASA has seen and heard some pretty weird stuff back there. See, once you sign that non-disclosure, they kinda own ya, you know? Despite what you may have heard, it's true that the Apollo 10 astronauts did hear some interesting sounds behind the moon, described as outer space type music. Audio recordings from the Apollo 10 mission, astronaut Gene Cernan asks John Young if he hears that. Gene calls it music and says it even sounds outer spacey sounding. Young says, "We're gonna have to find out about that, because nobody's gonna believe us." Hey man, no one believes anyone who's gone up there, so don't take it personally. Astronauts go through visual and audio testing like the Navy SEALs. They know what they're doing. If they say Angel by Shaggy is playing back there, I'm believing them. Number 6. Leland Melvin. American engineer and NASA astronaut on board the space shuttle Atlantis, selected by NASA in 1998. This guy's put in time with mission after mission. Melvin has over 565 hours in space. Quite the practice at the whole floating around thing, I'd say. When Leland then was pressed about otherworldly visitors, he said he had seen something translucent, curved, and organic looking when he was working with fellow astronaut Randy Bresnik. The pair called the ground to ask NASA what it could be, and NASA's response was, probably ice, probably ice. Nice and scientific, Houston. Thanks for that. Mr. Melvin dismissed this and figured it was just NASA's explanation to cover it up. Like, who's more qualified here? That's all I'm asking. When the most qualified people are like, yeah, I can't tell if that's frozen water or a spaceship. Either they shouldn't be up there at all, or they need some more Windex on those windows now. Number 4, Moonwalk. Yeah, so apparently the footage our parents and also 650 million people across the globe watched in 1969 was not the original footage. Hold up, what? Yeah, apparently what everyone saw on every television set across the globe wasn't as 4K as NASA's end. A man by the name of Gary George came across some very, very old tapes that might be proof as to what NASA sees and what they hear on their end. It's a little different than what we see. Gary George bought 218 surplus government tapes, 3 reels labeled Apollo 11 EVA. He auctioned them at Sotheby's, first generation of the moonwalk. So hold on, NASA just had a clearer copy of this the whole time? I get it, maybe they had a bigger budget. I'm thinking so we can't see what's in the background, or what's flying in the background, or any stars in the background. Yeah, I just wonder how long it's gonna take before Robert Bigelow or Tom DeLong get their hands on that. Hey mom, there's something in the background, guys, pay attention.
Number 3, Dave Foley. Canadian comedy icon, Dave Foley. Yeah, we're talking about him for a little bit, let's do it. So when the Kids in the Hall star took to Twitter only a couple of months ago, he caught the attention of all of his followers, including I, Mr. Alien Guy on YouTube. Foley tweeted, quote, "After years of interest in the UFOs without ever seeing anything, I saw something." Insane. I also imagine he tweeted this in his Bugs Life voice. That's just what I do for me personally. "This is a drawing of what I saw. I was with a friend who I'll let decide if he wants to be attached to this. It moved silently, at great speed, hovered, and pulsated with light." End quote. Now, this ship does look a lot like what we've seen in past reports, so who knows, maybe Dave actually saw a UFO, sorry, UAP. I have a big alien guy looking at me, he's like, UAP. I'm like, UAP, you got it, sorry man, that's old school. So who knows, maybe he actually saw a real life entity. Maybe these aliens are fans of Bug's Life, maybe they just loved Kids in the Hall, maybe they wanted an autograph, I don't know.
Number 2, tea saucers. So apparently 2 of the editors from Titanic, have publicly made a comment saying that this video right here, if it was fake, would be very, very hard to do. They did the Titanic, dude. At first I was like, yeah, this is so fake. It looks like the intergalactic Beastie Boys music video. I was like, what? It looks so fake. It looks like the 1902 Trip to the Moon movie, like the black and white video. You know, the one with the guy's face in the moon is just like splat. Like the rocket ship crashes into his face. Like cheesy, right? Cheesy. Like a saucer on a string over a model building type thing cheesy. Nope. Apparently this one has experts stumped. Taken in 1997 in Las Lomas, Mexico. Always Mexico, dude. They have the craziest sightings. Look, it looks fake, but when people who edit stuff every day in the movies are like, yeah, we don't know how to do that yet. That's when it gets really scary.
Number 1, 2021 Flyby. It's odd because we obviously joke and have a good time on this channel, especially when talking about aliens, of course. It's a nice change than, King Henry and, cutting heads off. It's nice, we like to take a break. But for our number 1 spot on today's list, look at me. Look how serious this guy is right now, right? I'm cocking my head to the left, I'm squinting at nothing. That's how you know it's real. I could tell anybody bad news with this face right here, and I'm here to tell you today on Bumblebee that we are not alone. Aliens do exist. They came out with this vertical portrait mode video. That's how you know it's real, when it's filmed like a World Star video. And the video itself is quite short, and that's because it's taken in the cockpit of a plane that is currently flying at high speeds, at very high altitudes. But it appears to be passing a metallic sphere. Yeah, this is what happens when a UAP enters restricted airspace. The pilot attempted to communicate a warning to said object, but of course, it was to no avail. I just said it was to no avail. That's how you know I'm being serious. There you go.
Number 10, Roswell. The birth of the UAP phenomenon. Post-Cold War, 1945, the US's first nuclear explosion. 1946, the first underwater nuclear explosion. 1947, the first crashed flying saucer. Local rancher Mac Brazel finds the wreckage on his property in Lincoln County, New Mexico. Sheriff Wilcox shows RAAF's commanding officer Colonel Blanchard the materials, and during the night, the Air Force combs the entirety of the property, apparently harboring 2 small injured alien bodies. Taking them then to Kirkland Air Force Base, New Mexico that night, the very next morning, the Roswell Air Force makes a statement claiming that they have recovered a crashed flying disc in local newspapers. Boom! History, baby! A photograph of Jesse Marcel, the head intelligence officer who investigated and recovered some of the debris. The very next day, the Army retracts their statement, however, and all of a sudden, a high-altitude weather balloon, aka the birth of the conspiracy theory. Nuclear fission explosions, weather balloons. Something's not adding up here. Number 9, the Washington Flap. July 19th, 1952, air traffic controller at Washington National Airport spots 7 slow-moving objects on his radar, a fleet of flying saucers. 2 F-94 interceptor jets take off and become scrambled as each of them approached, radar included. 7 days later, the UFOs are back over the nation's capital as 2 more jets scramble trying to chase it down. One of the pilots sees a bright light in the distance and decides to give it a chase. Quote, "I tried to make contact with the bogies below 1,000 feet. I saw several bright lights. I was at max speed, but even then I had no closing speed. I ceased chasing them because I saw no chance of overtaking them at all." Newspaper headlines around the US scream, quote, "Saucers swarm over Capitol," and quote, "Jets chase DC sky ghosts." Probably not a good idea to just fly over the Capitol without saying hello first. Number 8, Betty and Barney Hill. The first real documented UAP abduction case in history. Betty and Barney Hill, married couple, New Hampshire, were driving home one night from a 3-day honeymoon when a light started following them in the sky. Pulling over after minutes of tailing, Barney got out of the car and gazed into the sky. From this moment on, the couple say 2 hours were lost. Betty's dress ripped, Barney's shoes scuffled, and both their watches 2 hours behind. Thinking nothing of it, they both reached home confused, and after weeks of no sleep, the couple reached out to a psychic researcher who could help them, and under hypnosis, the couple made some terrifying claims. They both, on separate occasions, claimed that they were separately walked into a large metal disc by small gray beings, and continued to operate and experiment on the couple on board. Blood taken, bodies examined, and both of them downloaded an understanding of a star system called Zeta Reticuli. The Hills stuck to their story for the remainder of their lives and remains one of the first and crucial American accounts of alien abduction.
Number 7. Parked alien. Okay, when I first opened this link, I jumped. So just a heads up, you got a creepy alien face coming in 3, 2, 1. Bah, there it is. It's silly, it's scary. I'm not really sure how I feel about this one, but either way, it definitely looks real. Reddit users claim since this photo hasn't been fully debunked, it can still be held up for debate. Fair. They're like, well, it's not real. We're like, I guess, sure. A common argument is, where's the prop then, okay? Where's the material that made this exact alien suit? This looks better than today's CGI. Let's just use that from now on in movies. This reminds me of the alien from Signs, that birthday party scene alone. That could have been number 1. That was some, me up for like 8 years straight, for sure. Number 5. Driveway alien. Doorbell cam footage gave homeowner Vivian Gomez quite the shock on June 2nd, 2019. Yeah, she looked and saw maybe an alien. We're not sure yet. What is that? Is that a person? A thing? I have no idea. I also love how unsure he is at first, like which direction he's going. If that's an alien, he has no idea where he is. He just had a rough night. He's like left, right, either way. I'm pumped. Let's do it. Like he's like, yeah, eastbound, westbound. Where's my planet? Is it this one? He's like dapping himself up on the way out. Whatever happened in that house, probably great. He probably got to like third base and he's like, he's ready, man. I don't know, fake or not, I hope aliens move like this. But he's got sea legs. He's not used to our gravity, clearly. He has no idea what he's doing. A little stronger than the moon.
Number 4, Mufon. Just shot over Houston, Texas. Dude, is this thing a giant floating Christmas tree ornament or a Halo ship? Cause like, what am I looking at here, you know? Dude, stuff like this freaks me out, cause like, as humans, we think we've seen everything and understand. And then you see like a new light up squid and you're like, oh, that makes my brain feel weird. Like when I don't know what I'm looking at and things are just like weird colors and different shapes, I just panic, you know? I feel like I'm losing grips on reality. Also, this thing is a Mufon case, which stands for Mutual Unidentified Flying Object Network. It's like 50 countries all working together, sending each other videos like this. It looks like some sort of glittery anomaly. See, I'm quick to say spaceship, but then again, I just saw Nope over the weekend and like, yeah, I don't really know anything anymore. This could be a creature or a body or a projection. It's 2022, I don't know. Number 3, Skinwalker Ranch. 500 acres on this land in Ballard, Utah, the most bizarre spot on Earth. Skinwalker, getting its name from the first Navajo people's word for an evil spirit that inhabits the human form. The reports start in the 30s with the Myers, then the Shermans in the 90s. Then, Robert Bigelow, creator of Bigelow Aerospace, purchases the ranch for the development of UAP and consciousness research with the Advanced Aerial Threat Identification Program, or also known as ATIP. Gifted a budget to conduct research, this is where it starts getting weird. 2013 UAP researcher Brandon Fugel then buys the ranch from Bigelow, and History Channel's team of the Skinwalker Ranch series, an entirety of a crew of about 160 people, remain there to this day, conducting experiments and living on the land. Some examples of reports are hundreds of unexplainable cow mutilations, flying discs, orbs, ghosts, Bigfoots, and of course, a giant pulsing magnetic signature buried under the mountain. That's horrifying. Number 2, the OHare Airport. The OHare Airport incident happened at approximately 4:15 p.m. broad daylight on November 7, 2006. Chicago O'Hare International Airport receives a report that a group of 12 airport employees were witnessing a metallic saucer-shaped craft hovering still over gate C-17. The object was spotted by a ramp employee first, then it was witnessed by pilots, then airline management, and numerous mechanics simultaneously. No air traffic controller saw the object on radar. A completely silent 7-meter dark gray saucer sits. Several witnesses outside the airport also saw the object, ringing up local police and reporting numerous phone-ins describing a disc craft hovering over the airport for numerous minutes without moving. According to another witness, the object then shot straight up through the clouds at high velocity, leaving a clear blue hole in the clouds. According to the Chicago Tribune the next day, the disc was visible for over 5 minutes and was seen by dozens of airport personnel.